Hello, thank you for listening, and welcome back to the Coach Harris Show, where it is my job to teach you all about building a stronger mind and body for life. Today's podcast is with one of my closest friends, Nate Hatz, who was my college roommate for 3 years and a great friend. He has some great wisdom for you today on all things building habit, consistency, and also shares a few embarrassing stories, which I think you'll find hilarious. Nate describes himself as a student above all else, a student of strength training, a student of online business, and a student of habit. He gets into his rise before method, which is how he gets up before the sun to check off his most important tasks of the day. What I love about this episode is that we don't just jump around from topic to topic, but we really stick on the idea of habits. Instilling positive habits in our life is absolutely the primary way in which we get what we want, right? If we want something, if we want change, we need to be regimented and we need to do the thing daily. Nate has been doing this very well for quite a few years now with his fitness, with his business, and with other parts of his life. Nate's going to talk to you about what he loves to do, which is helping people find their path to online independence through his website, natehatz.com. He's an online trader. He does e-commerce, sells on Amazon, does a lot of cool things that I honestly don't know about, but he teaches me quite a bit today, and I think he'll teach you as well. Once again, we really get into the idea of habit, and I think you'll be able to take away some great lessons. Finally, I want to mention my email list as always, because that is how Nate and I got in touch with regards to this podcast. If you have pressing fitness struggles, challenges, concerns, or questions, and you want me to give you a personal answer and a walkthrough, feel free to jump on my email list. All the info you need is down below in the description. Send me a message, say hello, tell me what's going on, and we can get into it. Possibly, I'll even make a podcast for you. All right? That's it. Without further ado, enjoy this episode with Nate Hatz. What's up, Nate?
Harris, how you doing, man? I'm so glad to be on your podcast.
Thanks, man. This is going to be the best one yet. This is, you know what's different about this podcast, as we just talked about? This is the first one where I'm drinking. Yes, it's a fitness podcast, and I have 2 beers in front of me. Cheers. Cheers, buddy.
And
what are you drinking?
Just so the listener knows, we were roommates in college.
We were roommates for 3 years in college. Oh, I should talk about, I promise we're going to get to fitness and important things that are actually helpful for you, but we had a beer wall in college.
Yep.
Ooh, I almost forgot about that. Where we cut out the cardboard from all of the dozens and dozens and hundreds and thousands of beers we drank over 3 years and pasted on the wall in this gorgeous artwork.
We did. And you know what? That kind of reminds me of freshman year, and I think your listeners are going to like this. Harris was so motivated that he made his own posters and he put them in his dorm room.
Oh, shit.
And I found them very inspirational.
What was one that you remember? That was embarrassing and fun.
I remember one had a lot of highlighter on.
Dude, you know what I would do is I would find, okay, so for reference, I started lifting when I was 16 in college. By the time you're talking about with the posters, I was probably 3 or 4 years into that. And I would just get super amped up randomly about stuff. And I would find people on YouTube, hear their quotes about motivation or consistency. And then I would not print it, but I would get a piece of paper and handwrite the quotes like a 4-year-old and highlight the extra intense words. I didn't just write them in caps, but I highlighted them like, you are too good to quit. And I would highlight that, and then put it on the wall. And I would just get so much shit from everybody.
I highly recommend that technique. It works.
It works, man. I was pretty pumped up all the time, so it worked. All right, man. I want to get into the real life stuff. I want to know Nathan Hatz, Nate, and talk about your background. If you want to tell whoever's listening, kind of your story, fitness, business, personal stuff, whatever you want to get into, man.
Sure. Yeah. Well, if I was to describe myself in one word, it would be student. And funny enough, I'm telling you that we are college roommates, but I've always just been a student of whatever interested me in life, like fitness, for example. I'm a student of strength training. Right now, I'm a student of online business, and I've been learning about pretty much any different kind of venture that you can take online and any kind of business that you can run from a laptop. But in terms of my story in a fitness way, going back to college, even before that, really, in high school, I was a wrestler. And so I was in the gym, in the weight room, 6 a.m. And that really instilled in me some consistency, and especially morning workouts. I'm a big morning guy in general. Um, and I can go in a whole conversation about mornings and how you need to rise before the sun and everything like that. But in terms of fitness, I didn't really get any muscle growth in high school or college. And even though I was consistently going to the gym, hitting the weights, it wasn't until recently that I got some books, really studied it. And now I'm starting to see some muscle growth. And what I was missing was pretty much um, progressive overload, which is just pushing more weight the next week than I had the previous week. And I kind of use that lesson in my business too. It's all about expanding your boundaries and pushing beyond your limits, because that's where growth occurs. But in terms of fitness, I during the quarantine, it's kind of interesting because a lot of people were forced into home workouts. And I'd been preparing for that really for a couple of years since I moved to Pittsburgh. I'd built a really nice home gym in my apartment here with some plate loaded dumbbells. And so I've really taken advantage during the quarantine. And I'm sure a lot of your listeners have some fun home workouts that they've been getting into during quarantines.
Definitely, definitely. That's awesome, man. I like that. I have a question because I think I just don't remember, but when we knew each other throughout college, did you do the whole morning routine thing, getting up early, doing stuff then?
Oh yeah.
You did. Okay. Like since I met you mostly.
Yeah. When we were living together, I remember you and our other roommate would be out watching some TV or playing video games or something. And I'd be like, I got to go to bed, because I'd always wake up around like 5:36, eat a little bit of oatmeal, and then I would go to the gym, which was right next to our apartment. And that was an awesome gym. I remember that place.
All right. This is the 13th episode, and I think the last. You're the new host, man. You're the regimented one. You're like, while you were watching video games and eating crap, I was working out. It's like, what's your that makes me look terrible, but it's true. Okay, I think I do remember that. So you've always been into the morning, and you said like rising before is in the sun, right? So I know that was something you were also working on in terms of a website, right? Rise
That's
before.
Correct. Yep.
So how did that start as far as business goes, and maybe also take it into like the fitness world? Why was that helpful for your fitness and anything else?
Totally. Well, like I said, in high school, I would work out first thing in the morning just because otherwise coach would, get really angry at you. And that taught me that lifting before I do anything else was the easiest way to do it, because throughout the entire day, I didn't have to think about, I've got to go to the gym and lift now, because it's already done. It's already checked off that to-do list. And so I took that tactic of getting something done as early as I can, and I made a method around it. I call it the rise before method. And one of my business ventures was starting risebefore.com, where I talk about that method. And I wrote a little ebook that just glosses over it, really simplifies it. But basically, my method for my mornings is to get up and cross at least one thing off my to-do list before the sunrise. And usually it's weightlifting. I'm looking at my daily dues, and lifting is the first thing, and it's always crossed off before the sun rises.
I'm inspired. That's a good point to it. That's actually funny. As we speak, I'm looking at my daily to-do list, and I'm doing a squat every day challenge right now. I don't think I told you that yet, but I got a squat rack recently and put it together.
Harris, I'm on your email list. Of course I know about that.
Oh, shit. Of course you know about that, man. How could I forget? The email list is where I talk about a lot of good stuff. And
all also, cool people are on the email list.
Thank you. You're a cool person. That's actually how we, obviously we talk normally anyways, but I mentioned to the email list about this podcast, and you were one of the cool dudes who responded. So that's why we're doing this. I'll also put if you still have it, the ebook that you talk about with Rise Before in the description below. Yep. So if anyone wants to check that info out, I think it would be awesome. Join his email list as well.
Yep. And I've got a challenge for it too. The first page talks about the Rise Before challenge, or the Wake Up challenge, rather. That's the name of the book. Wake Up challenge. What's
the challenge? I think I'm going to grab it too, because I want to try the challenge.
Well, you'll have to read the book, Harris, to find out what the challenge is.
God damn, I'm slacking today. It's the beers, man. I've had too many sips. And I'm doing this squat every day challenge because, again, it feels very it just makes a lot of sense to me to have one movement. And this is not what I recommend for everyone, because not everyone likes the idea of one specific movement every day. But to me, it's like to have a non-negotiable thing that is hard and physical is really exciting. It's reassuring. It helps me feel structured, right? I do other workouts around it, of course, but it's like no matter what, I have my daily heavy squats. And as we speak, I'm looking, and it's the first thing over the past 7 days that I've been doing the challenge, it's the first thing on my list. And it's not a coincidence. I did do that intentionally, but I guess it was kind of just like my first thought that it should be the first thing there, because it's the only thing on my to-do list that is fully about myself, right? It's for my own body, for my own mental health, my physical health. It's like my own time. So it makes sense to do it first thing of the day when it's better. And I don't always do it immediately. Like maybe I'll wait half an hour and then start, right? I could probably even be more on top of that aspect, but you're onto something for sure with either rise before the sun, or just like do your most important thing for yourself right away, because then you don't have to worry the rest of the day. And that's something I struggle with too. When I was younger, I would do well a lot when I would work out early, whether it was again at 5 a.m. or if it was just the first main thing of the day, because it was out of my mind. I felt so much more. And this, we can kind of dive into this if you want as well, but how training or anything challenging for ourselves can carry into like being a better person for other people and doing other good things with our work and our business. Because knowing that your workout is done and you've challenged yourself, and that's checked off by 9 a.m. or even by 6 a.m., whatever time it is, like you don't have to think about it and you can kind of go be your best person there. But when you let the thing like drown into the rest of the day, then you have all these thoughts comes up and excuses come by, and bad cycles happen. So like you're pretty on top of the idea of doing things early.
The longer you put it off, the more likely you are to put it off.
Exactly. And I'm sure you definitely can attest to this too, right? Because I know you've been very consistent with the morning, but if you've ever had days where, I'm sure our mornings have been ridiculously hungover in college, you weren't getting up at 6. So on those days, right? So on those days, when you do the thing later, it's whether the habit breaks or not, it becomes that much easier for you to lose the habit, right? Because you miss one day or it goes back until the later part of the day. And then the next day, it's like, you kind of lose a little of that momentum. So I think having a regimented schedule with something in your life, training is probably a good one, is pretty smart.
Yeah. And I think you hit the word, it's a habit that you have to get into. Yeah, and that's where you see progress. Everything in life I've learned is just, if you make it a habit, then it grows. My business has become a habit. My, fitness, strength training, that's a habit now. And so it's not even a thought, like there's no room for excuses to get out of it, because it's just a habit. It's just what I do in my mornings or throughout the day.
I would love to know your thoughts on, which kind of just cleared that up a little bit, but your thoughts on this. I was reading something. So I'm in the middle of a book right now. It's called The One Thing. And it's, as the name explains, it's all about basically less is more, and finding not just 3 things to focus on or one kind of random thing, but like the one thing in any specific area of your life that, I think the actual quote from the book is, the one thing that makes anything else like irrelevant or unnecessary. I'm kind of butchering the words, but the idea is like to have the most important thing in a category and have that be your focus every day, every week, every month, because then it kind of clears the rest out, right? And then that becomes a habit. So my point is, there's a chapter in the book that, which was very interesting to me, debunks the idea of discipline. But I know it sounds kind of weird, right? Because discipline is a good thing and it's an important thing. I'm not saying discipline is like BS, because it's totally not. But what the author was trying to say, which was an interesting point, is that you really only need so much discipline in any one thing until it becomes a habit, right? And I think at least the people that I talk with and myself when I'm struggling with stuff, I sometimes get challenged by the idea of, okay, I'm working on this thing, it's really tough, but am I going to have to be disciplined and just grind forever with this thing, and it's always going to be such a stressful thing to make something happen? No, his idea was like, yes, you need to be disciplined and kind of just bite the bullet and maybe get up before 6 a.m. and work out for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks and do the really uncomfortable thing until it becomes a habit, and then it becomes pretty easy and routine. And I think that's what you're talking about, right? It's not like, I think now for you, it's not like you're just hating life, getting up every morning to work out. It's become such a habit and a part of your life that you do it, and it's kind of just non-negotiable, and that makes everything else better. So I'm curious what you think about the idea of like super always disciplined and being kind of challenged by all these things, or doing them just long enough to make it an easy part of your life?
Right. Well, I definitely think it's an ebb and flow,
Yeah,
because you can use discipline to build up the habit, but eventually you're going to have one morning where you don't want to get up, and then it's the discipline that gets you out of bed
exactly.
and then putting in the work. And then once you put in the discipline, after a while, it becomes a habit again, and then it becomes easier. So I think it's an ebb and flow in that way.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I definitely, that's why I thought it was an interesting piece. Cause I mean, I don't think anything's black and white, like I don't think discipline isn't worthy, cause that's kind of crazy. Like it
They
just,
got a good title on that. I kind of want to read that now, with the
that,
debunking
that's the idea.
discipline.
Yeah. So the idea, which I can, if I remember, put this in the show notes too. The book is called The One Thing by Gary Keller. And there's one chapter so the premise of the book, and then we'll move on, is like, before you get to the idea about picking the one thing and how to do that, you have to kind of clear out all the nonsense first, and almost like you have to let go of some perspectives before you can implement this, because that's the best way to do it in his mind. So there's one big chapter that every mini chapter is a new, like, debunked thing. Like, multitasking is kind of bullshit in his words. Discipline is bullshit. This is time management. And again, his context is actually it's not saying that it's all BS, like it's not. But as you said, he says it's not the priority. You have to have enough discipline to build a habit. And then you really just ride on the habit. There will be those times though when you break the habit and something comes up, then you have to just have the self-discipline to get back onto the habit. But I think it's a reassuring thing to know that you don't need just that like grueling discipline for everything, for every part of your life forever, because then it's just going to be always so much stress to make something happen. It's like, put enough discipline in whatever area you need to make the habit more sustainable. Keep riding that and just do that good work. If things fall off, or if you fall off track, discipline yourself, like you said, to get back on, and that cycle just continues.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, man. I'll have to find the book for you. All right. So
Yeah, no, send it to me. I love reading.
Yeah, the audiobook's good too. We'll do. The next thing I want to get into, let's kind of go a little more specific now in terms of actual strength training, just because I think we align really well in the idea of that being a focus. Again, I know everyone likes to look good and to get lean and to build muscle, but the idea of just like training for strength and performance and feeling like an athlete is really cool. And you noted something interesting, which is that you didn't really start to see a lot of progress until more recently when you implemented progressive overload. I remember in college, in certain times, you were asking me, like, you were doing awesome with your gym, but I don't think you had a ton of weight in there to really build up. So what's that looked like? Maybe if you want to pick kind of like a fun conversation, what lifts have you enjoyed doing? Do you have any specific strength training goals now, et cetera?
I think progressive overload was what helped, but the real difference maker was making a plan. Because in college, when I would go into the gym, I'd be like, okay, today I'm gonna do chest. And that was the extent of my plan.
Chest.
So like I'd grab some dumbbells and be like, okay, these feel okay. And then I would, push them a few times until I felt like it was okay. Whereas now, after I've studied the topic a little bit, the book that I read that helped me the most was Bigger, Leaner, Stronger by Mike Matthews.
Yeah.
And it gives you very simple things to follow to build your own plan. And so basically, I know when I go into the gym, here are the 4 lifts I'm going to do. Here's the weight that I'm going to use. Here's my rep range that I'm going to be in. And through planning my workouts, I can, first of all, see my progress a lot easier. Second of all, I have a better idea about what I'm doing in the gym, because we've all been there when we're in the gym and we don't really know what to do. So we just kind of look around and, oh, well, that thing's open. I guess I'll go use that. That's it. It's not really helping you to reach any goals when you do that, because it's not planned.
Yeah, man.
And same with my business. When I make plans for my business, that's when I see growth. When I just think like, oh, la-di-da, I'll just try and do this for a little bit and then that, nothing really happens. So I believe in planning for sure.
100%. I like that a lot. And I will say not a counter to that, because I actually agree with you 100%. But I think another point that I think is interesting or worth noting is like, you as anybody can also have a plan for something and then deviate when you see fit. just always have a plan to return to if you need, so you're never lost. Like sometimes I'll train people who maybe for their certain circumstance in life, they don't really want such a regimented plan because their goals aren't that serious. They just want to be stronger. They want to move often and enjoy their workouts, etc. Right. So I'll say, okay, there's still a purpose in having a plan, having optional days, having things that you can know when to do, why to do it, etc. And then you can freestyle if you need to or want to. But when you feel like you said, if you're looking at a piece of equipment or you're not sure what to do, that won't happen because you have a plan. Same thing with business, right? It's like you could have the best business plan in the world. Stuff's going to come up. Fires are going to start. You're going to have to adjust and change things, but you still have a basic structure to go off of if needed. So I think that's a good point. So
that's absolutely true. And that's why people need to hire a personal trainer to be able to use that planning aspect of it. Because, not everyone has the time or even the interest to like sit down and plan out and track everything for themselves. And so they have people like you who love to do it.
Yeah, I'm crazy. I don't know why, but I love that stuff. Definitely, man. So the plans helped you a lot. Are there any specific lifts that you really enjoy or anything you're working on? I know you sent me some videos of your kettlebell swing, which is cool. Anything else you like? Randomly in the middle of the night, hey man, it's like 2 a.m. Like, hey man, how's in the whispering voice, because that's how I think of it in my mind. How's the swing doing? I'm like, dude, stop. Text it.
I'm always asking Harris for how my form is.
I love it though. I love it. So the swing is something you seem to enjoy. You got a heavier kettlebell, right?
Yeah, no, I got a heavier kettlebell. I haven't used those in a while. I did those when I was more cutting, but now that I'm in more bulking, I pretty much only use my plate loaded dumbbells. I will say I would love to get a barbell so I can do some heavier deadlifts, but I think the deadlift would be my favorite. It's just I'm maxed out right now. I'd love to be pushing or pulling more weight. So in terms of my dumbbells, I guess I really love just a strict shoulder press, because seeing my weight go up in that and like seeing my shoulders get bigger, like that makes you feel good.
Dude, it's simple, man. I think that's so cool because like there's so many avenues you could take with any subject, right? With, again, fitness or business or whatever, where there's like this advice or this, but I think sometimes it's just as simple as like what makes you feel good, and then do more of that. Like that's a simple way to look at it. So I like that idea of like you have a favorite movement, it makes you feel good, then you probably are more motivated to train it more often and to build it up, and that's a good cycle. The shoulder press is cool too because it's like it's one of those really primal things where it's, can you put this heavy shit over your head and dominate it? And when you can, it's like, I can dominate that weight. My shoulders feel bigger, like you said. It's pretty cool. So you do dumbbell, single arm or double arm dumbbell overhead press?
Yep. And I guess my other favorite would be just the bench press, because with the dumbbells, there's a lot of technique to safely do a bench press, to get if you're using heavy dumbbells, to get them up into position and then get yourself out of position. I've learned the most getting in and out of my bench with a heavy dumbbells.
Can you elaborate? What do you mean learn the most of what?
Learn to trust myself.
Yeah.
And also learning the technique of putting heavy dumbbells in and out of position. And these are things that I never knew of until I started reading and studying fitness and strength training.
Yeah. There's, that's something I actually haven't talked about in a long time. I like that you said that a lot. That's I think a really worthwhile reason for people to, first of all, train, and second of all, like adjust and adapt and be willing to try new things and just kind of experiment, because you learn hidden things in the process, right? Like maybe things you won't even read about, just things you have to kind of do to understand. And I was training a client the other day, and which is kind of relevant, he was doing the floor press, and he asked me, he was basically on one of the last, sorry, not a floor press, an incline dumbbell press. One of the last presses, he was doing great, but the weights were kind of straying a little bit. And he was like, oh, if my wife's down here, can I have her help me like spot? And I was like, yes and no. I was like, I mean, it's not that it's a bad thing. If you feel safer, like, okay, but I think there's something to be said about only do the weight if you feel like you can control it, and just learn what it's like to have to kind of get in and out of these positions safely on your own, just like you said, like you learn a lot getting into the bench press and out, because you learn how to get you just do that, you learn how to actually adjust the weight. You learn how to like feel certain muscles turn on. You have to trust yourself, which is super important for confidence, for everything. So I think that's a good point to make. All right, you're definitely a bro. Shoulder press and bench press. What about the legs? Where are the legs at, man?
Again, if I had a barbell, I'd be progressing a lot faster, but I'm just maxed out with what I have. So I'll do goblet squats. Um, I'll have both dumbbells and just squat down with that. But in my ideal world, in my ideal home gym, I have a power rack, deadlifting platform.
Of course.
I just got 45 pounders just like stacked on both sides. You know?
Hell yeah. How heavy are your dumbbells?
They go up to 100 pounds each.
Dude, that's great. Those are huge. So
they're no joke.
So your only leg movement now are squats, like holding a dumbbell, right? Goblet squats.
Yeah, and I have TRX bands that I hook to a door, and then I can do some hamstring curls with that. It's kind of hard to like progressively overload hamstring exercises unless you have a machine, unless you have an idea. That's what I found. It's kind of hard.
Only if you want it, but I definitely have an idea. Well, if you're looking to train your legs, like you're saying you want something to train your whole body and now your legs with more weight, right? Like to get stronger.
Right. Yeah.
So for the backside of the body, right? The hamstrings, the posterior chain, simple Romanian deadlifts, which is basically a deadlift, but just the hip hinge. You have more than enough weight to make that really hard. If you have hundreds, you can hold a pair. So start with like 50s in each hand, keep them close, just like you're doing a barbell deadlift, do the hinge and work up to eventually doing them with the hundreds. That would be crazy heavy. So
and that's one example of things that I've learned that as a student of things in life. I learned that I start off, I don't know what I don't know. And then I learn things that I don't know, and I need to, study that more. One of the things I don't know is what is the difference between a Romanian deadlift and just a regular standard deadlift. I know like the knee bends less.
Yeah.
But that's one thing that I know I don't know, but I need to find out. And so that's something I'm going to study. I'll definitely look into RDLs and see if I can add them into my my training plan.
Definitely, man. Well, if you want, I can just kind of explain my thought there. So like obviously a visual would make it way easier, but the simple answer in just like easy visuals is the Romanian deadlift is just the hip hinge. Your knees are bent a little, they're soft, but they never move from that point, right? So imagine standing with a slight soft knee bend to where you're comfortable. From that point, your knees don't bend anymore the entire time. You're just hinging at the hips, almost like you're kind of bending your chest to the floor. The real deadlift at the bottom of the lift, then your knees bend even more, right? Because you're setting the weight all the way to the ground. So the Romanian deadlift is good just because it might hit the hamstrings a little harder, right? It's constant motion. You're not setting the weight on the ground and then picking it back up. And it's just a really nice motion to practice that motion, right? The hip hinge. But for your purposes, if you have dumbbells, like you wouldn't do dumbbell deadlifts, bringing them all the way down to the ground and then back up, because it's going to be, especially, you're super tall, right? So it'd be such a big range of motion. You're freakishly large, man. It would be such a huge range of motion that it would be almost definitely a terrible position to be in, right? Your back would be rounded. It would be very awkward.
Oh, yeah.
The hip hinge, though, no matter what you have, you're in control of that range. So the RDL is a really good one, the Romanian deadlift. The other thing I would say, again, if you really want to gain as much strength and muscle as possible, I would like 2 to 3 times a week hammer lunge variations, heavy lunge variations, because that's just as much legs as a squat, right? It's the same kind of idea, but it's single leg, and now it's going to feel almost twice as hard with a given weight. So instead of doing just heavy goblet squats, you can literally hold 40s on each side, 50s in each hand, all the way up to 100s, and do split squats. So it's like you're just lunging up and down, reverse lunges, but do it for like heavy sets, 5, 6, 7 reps. And you'll get all kinds of muscle and strength gains, even up in your upper body, all kinds of gains, bro.
Well, I was doing those a little bit earlier on in my training, but I'll throw those back in again.
You got to throw them in, man. I see some videos of, cause also single leg stuff. And I want to get back to like kind of more like bigger motivational topics, but I think sometimes single leg stuff gets the idea of like, high reps, endurance, just kind of walking lunges with your body weight. But those can be as badass or even more as regular barbell training. Like I've seen a lot of professional athletes, baseball players specifically, I'm thinking of in a certain gym, who do like barbell reverse lunges with like 315 pounds.
Wow.
They put the bar on their back, and I mean, that's obviously, you can do whatever weight you can handle, but they're making it like a power lift, even though it's single leg. So that's the idea, is with dumbbells, whatever, you can get so much more weight on one leg, but build it really heavy. And then that's going to make your arms bigger and stronger, your shoulders, your back, all of it. That's a good one. Also, I mean, we're doing audio.
Taking notes over here.
Hell yeah. No, you're not. I see you. But if anyone's on the video, the sun's going down, so I'm about to be a black wall. So Nate, you're going to look at nothing soon. I don't know how to get more light. There it is. Okay. So do you have any other kind of just general, back to the idea of like, not just waking up early specifically, but being regimented with something, finding habits, like creating that for yourself? Because you've always seemed to have that really great discipline and habit. Like from now that you remind me, from what I remember, you're always getting up early, sticking to stuff. More importantly, if you want to address this more, is you would, without any reservations, I remember, like, turn down other types of commitments or plans that people wanted you to make to stick to your habit. Like people would say, "Oh, you want to come party tonight?" And you're like, "No, I got to get up at 5 and study." I was like, "Hell yeah!" Like that's how you do it. So I think everyone has their own variation of that, but I think that's an important quality to be able to dig into, if you want to make changes. So when did that kind of start for you? Have you always been like that with certain things that you commit to?
Yeah, I've always been like that. And I think about it as, I call it the daily dues. So right now I got 5 things on my list. Every single day I need to cross that off, and then I can go out and party. But I remember doing this like way back in high school when I first picked up the guitar and started learning an instrument. Every day when I come home from school, I had a little folder full of different tabs with like practice things, like just finger strength and like stretching your fingers out. And I would run through each one of those practice little pieces. And so that's where I got in the habit of every day, usually at the same time, I would do that one thing. And when you keep active with something, that's how you get better at it, and it becomes easier. And then when it gets easier, you can do more with that time. So you get quicker running through the practice material. Now you can learn a new song. And that's true with business. That's true with fitness. It's true with life. And honestly, so, if you're a listener, I would recommend just thinking about what are some things that you would like to be better at, and then just finding one activity that you can put on your daily to-do list, and then maybe even cross it off before the sun rises. And then that whole day you get to think about, wow, I've already moved myself closer to, my business growing to whatever amount, to my fitness goals, to playing a live show.
Absolutely, man. Dude, that's something that resonates with me a lot. And it's reassuring hearing you go into detail on it, is like the idea of breaking things down into small pieces that are not just small and daily, but super actionable. I'm sure you would agree, right? That's a big part of it too, isn't just having it on the daily list, but having it be like, I did it or I didn't do, not a vague thing, not like I want to be better at this today, or I want to work on this, but I trained, or I practiced my instrument, like you said, for 20 minutes, or I worked on this part of my business, or got this page done, right? Something very specific, because then it's easier to get started with it when it's specific and small, and it's easier to kind of envision doing it. And like you said, if you can get it done earlier in the day, the better. That's pretty good.
And one thing to help make it specific is throw a number on there. So like every day, my daily do is I'm going to practice 2 songs, or, add a number on it. Cause that way you know for a fact, okay, that was 2, I did 2. And then you can cross it off. Cause otherwise you don't want it to be subjective. You want it to be clear as day that you completed it, and then you cross it off. And I'm a big fan of crossing it off, or crumpling up a paper, anything to emphasize the fact that you completed that.
Definitely, man. I think I do that, but I haven't thought of it specifically as that, like put an actual number, like the number being the important part, which I agree with for sure. And I think there's something to be said too about why, like psychologically, why it's so helpful to have specific things every day and to check them off. And it's that, like I mean, there's so much shit going on in everyone's life and in the world. And like, we probably just taking on more and more all the time mentally. So to be able to have that almost like release of, okay, I got this specific thing done. There's no question about it. And even better if that thing was a direct mover towards my bigger goals, you know? So I think like having the specific, like you said, and then doing what you did, which is you told me you only have 5 things for the day right now, is having a smaller number of things, right? Instead of having all of the things in the world, pick the things that will best influence. Like for you, it's strength train before the sun rises or whatever time. Then there's XYZ for business and other things I'm sure you have. It's like make the most impactful things possible on that list and then do them as early as you can in the day. Seems like a good takeaway, right?
Yep. Because if you take care of the most important things on a daily basis, well, then, when the weekend comes around, you've already done all the most important stuff. And now you get to do the little things that people usually distract themselves with. But now you've already completed the important things. And so it's your time to focus on those things.
Fair enough. Another point, which is kind of just me thinking out loud, and maybe if you have any thoughts here, that'd be cool, is like kind of playing devil's advocate. But what if I was the person, which is because I sometimes meet people like this who might say, oh, but that's like boring. I don't want my day every day to be just comprised of these basic things. I want to have fun throughout the day, etc. I would argue like if you pick the right things to make your daily do, like you said, that's super fun because they're the things that are most impactful for what you actually want to get better at. And I think sometimes we like, because I've definitely done this in the past, is I've put things on my daily list that I thought I should be focusing on, but really it wasn't for my deeper purpose or goals, right? It was maybe what I thought I should be doing or assignments from other people or tasks, right? And I always got bored by having to do those disciplined things. I would distract myself with other stuff. But now I jump up in the morning thinking to check off these first few things because they're the super concise, simple or specific things for my biggest goals. Right? I know like I'm very excited to do these quote boring things because they're going to make up everything bigger that I want to come in my life right now. And I get excited by it. And that's an easy way for me to keep the habit because it's exciting. I think that's an important part, So it's not just like do things that you think should be there, but take time to be self-aware and to think about what's really going to make you excited and stick to it and et cetera, et cetera. Is that something you think about a lot, finding exciting daily do's or ones that
Yeah.
are...
And it's all about bringing it into perspective too, because one of my daily do's is to sit at the piano and run through the scales. And that sounds extremely boring to somebody who maybe hasn't played the piano in a long time, and it was boring to start off with, but as I do it daily, it gets easier. And now I run through the scales. And because I do that on a daily basis, I'm better at the fun part of just playing piano without even thinking about it. It's easier because I do those things on a daily basis. And so, yeah, you have to do the boring things, but it makes the fun stuff so much better.
Yeah. So 2 things. First of all, so you mentioned having a number on the daily do. What's your scale number?
Well, I just go through each of the scales.
Okay. So
So
it's
I
like
have like my little music theory booklet and I just run through each of those.
so the specific goal is just do all of them once at least.
Yep.
Got it. And as you said, you're a big believer in maybe not every important thing needs to be like instantly fun and exciting. Sometimes you just have to kind of pick something that seems important and just commit to doing it for a little while. And then you'll get good at the fun parts. And that will make the whole cycle kind of continuously keep going, right?
Well, if you take a step back and say you were doing only the fun things, say in my business, I was only doing the fun parts of the business and I was avoiding all the boring stuff. Pretty soon, I won't be having fun in that business. You have to do the boring stuff to have the fun.
Yeah.
If I just did the fun stuff and the business was losing money, then how fun would that really be at the end of the day? But if I do the boring stuff, the business is making money. I find time to do the fun things. Well, then I'm living life. Then it's really fun. The whole big picture is fun.
Definitely, man. I agree with that too. So let me ask, what are, as much as you want to share, what are the fun things for you in your business?
Um, Well, I do have a few different businesses. Like I said, I've
Yeah,
studied
explain
pretty
all of them
much
if
every
tell
way
yeah.
to make money online. I started off with Amazon FBA. So the fun part of that is what I call shopping, where I literally look. So I have a ton of suppliers who sell products wholesale. So I find their inventory. I see what's selling on Amazon, what's profitable, and I'm telling you, I find the funniest products on there. Like sometimes I just have to stop and like send it to somebody.
Can you tell us
Um,
one? What's
yeah,
one?
for example, my current favorite product that I sell on Amazon, I just bought my supplier's entire stock of it because it's actually a good seller, healthy margin. It's a bracelet flask.
Dude, I've
So it's a,
heard of, did you tell me
have
about
you
that?
really?
Maybe you told me
Did I?
about it because you were,
I might have.
it's super
I get
smart.
excited about those, but it's just in the reviews are so funny. But I run into products like that all the time and it cracks me up. So that's definitely the fun part of selling on Amazon.
Do people in the reviews talk about like getting caught with it? Because that seems so, I mean, I assume it's for convenience and to potentially be sneaky for certain
Oh
people's
no, they
reasons.
they brag about like, oh, I take this everywhere. My friends love it.
Yeah,
it's
because I can just
it's funny,
imagine, yeah, how cool that would be is like being somewhere and being like, oh, we forgot a drink, and just being like, wait, I got you. Pull down my sleeve.
right?
I knew about that. I feel like maybe you told me about that. So that's one business. What about the rest and the other fun parts?
Yeah. So the next business I started after e-commerce and Amazon selling was forex trading, and if I'm sure everyone has seen like those cool looking charts where like the price goes up and down, and what does any of that mean? Well, first I had to learn what that means, then I had to learn all the different. I mean, there's a ton of different ways to trade, but learn a way to trade and then get practice with it. Now I'm live trading now, so I have actual money on the line. But that one, honestly, when I'm in the charts, it feels like I'm playing a video game. Like looking at the price move up and down, and it's basically like we'll go up or down. So that one, just the whole action of trading feels like a video game. So that's always been fun. Unless you're losing money, then it's not so fun.
That is not so fun. I don't know anything about trading, but you know what? I might have told you this, but my girlfriend's into trading as well, and there was a for like probably 8 months of 2020, she was taking an online trading class. So every night she would get on live with these people in Argentina for a few hours and just like watch the market, put in like small amounts of money and kind of just study how it was going. But that's all I know. And it was all in Spanish. So I was talk about confused, dude. I was hearing screaming like, no, 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 but all in Spanish with all these colored lines shooting on the screen. She's like, do you want to learn
Yeah.
this? I was like, I'm going to black out if I keep looking at that screen.
It can be a little intimidating to
But
see
it's,
like just a mess on a chart.
yeah, but it's interesting stuff. So to come back to it, so you mentioned like you want to have those fun things, but you want to do kind of the boring basic stuff. Back into the lens of fitness, is there any other lessons you've been learning lately, whether it's with strength training specifically or just improving your health and movement and energy daily? Anything else
Sure.
that you think is relevant?
So I like to find connections between all the different things in my life. And so I feel like there's a connection between business and fitness. And to come to think of it, when I'm building my business, I kind of use the same strategies and motivations to build my body. And it takes consistency and a plan. And so I think that if you can build a body or if you can build a business, then you can do both.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And I've had a lot of clients who have been really successful with their fitness because they're not full entrepreneurs or business owners, but they might manage a team or they might have a really high status with their work. But they're used to the idea of like creating jobs or creating projects or doing these kind of entrepreneurial things. And when I talk to them about the basic principles of how to, for lack of a better phrase, just get more fit and keep it going, right? It makes a lot of sense to them and they're really good at staying on regimen with it, because it's the principles apply. And that's not to say like everybody has perfect carryover. It's definitely not true. But I think there's a lot of congruency there for sure.
Yeah. And I will say that once you see progress and success in one aspect of your life, it spills over to other. So, like, if my business wasn't doing well, then my fitness might go down. But then, I I kick my own butt. I wake up in the morning, I put in the work in the home gym. I start to see progress on my lifts, on my strength, and then all of a sudden my business turns around and I'm doing better. And so if you focus on success in that one thing, business or fitness, it really does spill over. Even relationships, it spills over to the rest of your life.
Yeah, man, 100%. I actually recorded I told you I recorded a podcast right before here, but I recorded a third one. Well, the first one of the day this morning. So it's a long day, but that was the 13th
Busy
episode of
guy.
mine. Yeah. And that one was short, but that was the 13th episode, I think. So if you're listening, you want to check it out. It's that one. And what I talked about was exactly that, which is personally, at least, my favorite use of fitness or benefit from fitness is the fact that it is what I think to be it's like a tool to directly impact anything else you want, right? Like, again, if let's say I have a work day and I have these work projects that I want to get to, but those moments when you just feel like you know what to do, let's say with business, but your head is cloudy, you don't feel like locked in, you're kind of spacing, you just feel like you're not very on point. I will say, okay, I see a kettlebell over there. I'm going to do a really hard set of kettlebell squats or swings, get my heart rate up, just get past that point where I'm like, this sucks. I want to stop and just go a little more. I stop the set. And now I feel like a tougher, more focused, clear headed person, right? Because I found some resistance, literal resistance, and I overcame it. When I put the weight down, I go back to my work and I'm like a little more excited. I kind of lock in. I go, okay, let's do it, So it's like I use it as a literal tool. And not to say that all my workouts are on the spot like that, but sometimes I'll actually just do something physical to make whether it's a relationship thing I'm trying to have be improved in the moment or my work, whatever it is, just be better. It makes my entire day better. And I would say it's the same for you, right?
Oh, absolutely. And in your example, not only does it make you more focused when you sit back down at the computer afterwards, but even the act of doing a few reps helps out with your fitness later on too. I think it's called like greasing the groove,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Um, I forget who coined that term, but yeah, if you just like pump out a few pull-ups, not only does it get your heart rate up and then improves your focus in the short term, but just putting your body through that motion, it it greases the groove. It
Mm-hmm.
makes you better at pull-ups
Definitely.
or whatever swings, whatever you're doing to break up the day.
Yeah, that was a good connection you made because it's kind of a double benefit there, right? You can use the little random bouts of exercise. Not to say all exercise can or should be random and small, right? Sometimes like a full-on session is important a lot of the time, but being able to use it to find productivity or to find like inspiration is helpful, but it's also helpful for your fitness, like you just said. Um, I've kind of changed my mind over the past months and couple years of how I like provide programs for people, how I view training for myself and for anybody. And it's less of the idea that your full program should simply be straight like training days, like 3 full body workouts a week, and that's it. It's more of have your 2, 3, 4 full body or whatever routines they are, like get your main bulk stuff in, but then have sporadic little daily goals to like always be working on. Because I realized like for most people, it's even though yes, you'll build the muscle, you'll build the strength, you'll make the change. It doesn't really. I think just having 3 hard workouts a week and then going right back to the computer and sitting all day doesn't really give us like and actually I heard this phrase from somebody else, but like the paradigm shift we need to make fitness a bigger part of our life, right? It's like, yes, you're getting in more work. It's good. But the best way I think to have a life of fitness and health and to always be active is to like make it a part of our day consistently, not just like 40 hard minutes and then sit forever. It's like get away from the business, get away from the computer, do 20 squats, right? Hang from the pull-up bar if you have one, do a plank, go for a walk. Like continuously having movement incorporated is really important for our bodies and just to make it like what it should be, and that's a way to make our bodies more accessible and all that stuff.
And honestly, it doesn't even have to be, some big badass thing that you're going to do. It can be like, I love just taking a walk outside, especially now that
Definitely.
it's starting to be spring, and you don't have to go to the pull-up bar and crank a couple of those out. You can just go out for a nice stroll outside, and that not only is exercise and the fact that you're moving your body, you're not just sitting in a chair, but it has the same benefits. I will say that one thing I've learned as I've gone towards more heavy lifts is that number one, rest is really good. I rest a lot more than I used to, and it's just an interesting kind of mental shift to go from like the more I work out, the bigger I get, to be like, well, the more I rest, the more I'll grow.
Yeah. And sorry to cut you off, but you mean specifically, you mean rest, not between sets, but like rest days or overall rest time?
Honestly, all the above.
All the above.
I take more rest days. I take longer between sets, and it's I'm like more leisurely almost. I go out for a stroll, and like that'll be a rest day.
Yeah.
But not sure how what got me on that topic, but it's just an interesting thing that I don't have to go as hard as I don't have to put as many hours in the gym. I just have to hit my plan.
Definitely.
I have to go in there with my plan, and then I can rest and relax, and then that's when the growth happens.
Definitely the growth. Yeah, the growth in a lot of ways, like muscle wise and 100% agree with that. And I think that's also really important for the idea of, again, back to making things a habit, making it stick, because it's way better to continuously be active and fit and strong for your entire life than to have like a really intense 3 months and then fall off, for a long time. So the idea of like, yeah, to have really, really intense things sporadically, like throughout the week, is important, I think, for mental like resiliency, for your body actually making adaptations. Is important to have some really hard sets, etc. But a majority of things should be like just above challenging or even kind of calm sometimes, right? Like lots of walking, lots of general movement, not things that seem super daunting. Because if you're at your computer and you're working on one of your few businesses, and you're like, okay, now I have to go do this extremely brutal session and then go do sprints and then get up and do it again. Like if your goals are really ambitious, then you have to do that maybe. But recovery is still obviously paramount, even if your goals are huge. But my point is, if you're just like a general person that wants to get stronger, wants to look better, wants to be fit, but isn't like a complete diehard all the time, then give yourself a more accessible route to movement and to exercise. It doesn't always have to be like balls to the wall or whatever other saying there is,
Exactly. Small bites. And like you were saying about how like with the daily do's, you want it to be something that you can actually do every day. And then that's how you build on yourself. You don't have to do the whole thing your first day. When you start a business, you don't have to go full time your first week in. You can accept the fact that it'll take time, and then put in the time in small daily increments.
Yeah. Yeah. Self-awareness is so important too. And just to kind of, we can go to something else, but to really sink in that point again, and why it's important to know this for yourself or whoever's listening, like about to understand this and how it works for you is, I have a client again, she's taken some time off. She hasn't been training for a while, but we're starting up again. And I asked her to send me an email with kind of like in her words, her wish list, like how many days a week she wants strength workouts, what she's thinking of. I like to give a lot of freedom in those choices. Like if someone says, I want to do 10 minutes of exercise a week, I'm going to say that's not happening. Like you got to be more active than that. But like, I want some freedom in what days you think are more realistic for harder stuff. What kind of challenges might you want to incorporate? Because I don't like just saying, okay, here's the basic general plan, because some people need more movement. Some people might need a more calm thing. It depends. But my point is that she emailed me just because she kind of knows how we do things really well. And she said, all right, here's the template I want. I want 3 full body strength days. I want 2 optional 15-minute workouts, whatever that is. And then 1 daily strength challenge. Right. And like, first of all, the self-awareness to be able to know all of that, I think is pretty cool. But it's also like, that's an example. It's not just, okay, I'm going to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or every day a lift and then stop moving, right? She said she wants 3 main days to make sure she's actually putting the resistance on the body, like really training, then 2 optional mini days, because maybe something will happen, her work will move around, or she'll do the 3 days, which is actually more realistic, and she'll want to do extra. But I don't think in her situation right now, or many, she needs to be doing 5-hour-long lifts every week, right? That's not always necessary. So she wants something kind of short and brief, maybe body weight that she can also do on like a Friday night if she's bored and wants to move around. And then the daily habit thing, which is my favorite part, is some kind of daily challenge where whether it's a rest day or a training day, to always have something every day instead of it just being, because I'm not a big believer in rest days being like full rest days. Like the plan is to sit on your bed and not move so you can recover optimally. I think that's a problem. I mean, if it happens, it happens. Like I've done that a million times, but I think the goal should be to always be active, right? Like your rest day is
Right.
still going for a walk. It's still doing some yoga.
Yep.
It's still
That's
like,
my favorite rest day, is going outside for a walk.
yeah, because it's restful, but you got to keep moving and get the blood flowing, or else you're not really helping yourself. So having a daily thing is important. And that's kind of it. But I think I like what you said about like being okay with those kind of more leisurely days, etc. Dude, your
Yeah,
screen
because
is so dark.
yeah, I know. I can't see
Mine
anything
too.
on
It's
this
like,
on
oh
my
my
screen
God,
now.
it's like Call of Duty now. It's like we're going like in dark mode. Dude, this is getting real. Okay. Anything else that you think out of everything we said that you'd like, as far as like messages that in general you think would be helpful for people, even business wise? I mean, everyone has careers in business, so you're a pro there.
Yeah, I would say that I would just actually repeat what I said earlier, in that if you can build towards a better body, then you can build your own business. And I think that the age that we live in, with the internet the way that it is, I think that everyone honestly should have, their own website and their own online business,
Me too.
because it's not, I won't say it's easy, but it's not difficult to start up a income stream online, and you don't have to quit your day job to do that either.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, if you'd like to learn more about this stuff, I just put together my own website, which is at natehatz.com, NATEHATZ.com,
I'll link
where I
it
talk
below.
about, that's where I talk about all these different business ventures I've started, and the progress that I'm making.
Hell yeah. That's a good spot, I think, to go for business purposes. So I'll link that below.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Thank you. So I like that too. And I mean, I know this isn't a business podcast, but honestly, it's kind of is in the sense that the way that I coach people, the way that I've learned myself for fitness, is it really is so all connected. Like we've said that a few times today, but I'm so resistant to the idea that fitness is fitness and business is business and relationships with family is family. Like everything drips into the rest, right? I
Right.
have like a lot, like most, like pretty much everybody knows what to do to get a better body, to move. There's a lot of detailed science things, like you said, that you'll discover that are very important to making things easier. But on a basic level, like again, movement, quality foods, more movement, like have some challenging stuff. It's pretty standard. So my point is, a lot of the people that come to me that have challenges, and again, I say it's also because I started fitness by being challenged myself, right? I was struggling with so much. I didn't understand stuff. I didn't know crap for a lot of years. It took me forever to really learn the right stuff. The challenge is more like the rest of their life, fitness aside, has some holes that they might not be so happy with or in a great place with, that it drips into their fitness, right? They have work issues and they don't make time for their health. They have some family priorities, which is that's very, very important, but that leads them to not eat so well when they cook. Like it all kind of feeds in. So I think the
Yeah.
idea of, like you said, I think it is, in my opinion and yours, really important for, I think, everybody to at least venture into the idea of having your own business. Like maybe there's some people that aren't as wanting of that or ready for that, because it takes kind of a certain mindset, to commit to it. But at least like a little bit could potentially give you a little more freedom to make time for your health, right? If you don't want to be a full on like complete business owner, fine. But I think the extra potential, either income or confidence in yourself to know that you can have your own passions and make that into your own work, might make you realize you can also make time for your own body and your health. Like I think I'm just a strong believer that if you solely always only work for somebody else and have nothing for yourself, there's going to be a lot of problems with your health, potentially with your, you know what I mean? Like mental health. Like I think we as people like kind of need to have part of our life be in control of ourselves. And I think business is a good place to do that, to find whatever thing you're really interested in or curious about or good at and help somebody else with it. And then maybe make some money doing it, or start a nonprofit, like whatever, but have some kind of venture that's yours, I think is pretty helpful and probably will work back to your own physical, mental health, all that good stuff.
Yep, I totally agree. Just like I think Mark Ripito said it, the barbell has lessons to teach you. And I say that business has lessons to teach you. Starting your own business has lessons to teach you as well.
Yeah, man, definitely. And I'm learning from you too, man. I'm just getting into it because I started my training business like 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and it's
I know,
awesome,
dude.
man.
I've been crazy excited about you. I'm like, I'm asking Harris every day. I'm like, how's the business going, man?
I appreciate it because that's funny because before I even thought about that, you had yours and you were doing your own thing. So we would like in college, I don't think we really talked about this, because I didn't know what I was going to do in that sense. I never thought I would have business. Like I think you probably did more than I did, but we were still kind of new to stuff. And now it's cool that we're both kind of in that world. But it's good because like I said, even though fitness is the business I'm in, it still makes me more aware of prioritizing myself, right? Because now that I'm not working for anybody else, I'm like, okay, it's all on me. So if I want to lead by example, if I want to feel good doing my work for myself, I need to also train and be consistent and do what I need to do. And it doesn't always happen. Obviously, I'm not perfect there, but it's always a good kick in the butt to think about that and to come back to it, man. So I love it.
Yep. And just like it's fun to see your body grow, it's fun to see your business grow. It's really the same thing. It's just that rather than your physical body, it's your little business that you're building.
Definitely, man. All right. Unless there's any other big rabbit holes you want to go down, because we got time and I'd love to, we can kind of get some wrapped up lessons from here. But what are your thoughts?
What are my thoughts? I think that was a great podcast episode.
Me too.
I'm expecting it to be the #1 podcast pretty soon.
Well, hey man, that's up to you. Share the crap out of it.
Oh, I will.
You know I will. All right, so let's do this. Let me tell one funny story, making you look kind of cool and kind of bad, and then making fun of our friend.
I'm gonna take a sip for this one.
Yeah, we're taking. I'm still on the first beer, man. We have to do this again. Like I'm trying to keep. I feel like the real pros of podcasting can go through like 4 glasses of whiskey in the first 20 minutes of the show. I don't. Maybe that's.
Well, it's because podcasting is so natural for them. And it's because they do it so often. That's why the daily habit.
Daily habits, right? So the more I podcast, the more I drink. This is fitness though, so there's a problem. I gotta find the right method here.
You're gonna have to square that circle.
Oh my God. A couple funny stories, whatever else. And then I want to finish off with 2 last things. I want really concrete kind of actionable steps from you based on what you said, because you've given a lot of good info for the person listening. And if you want to kind of discuss your website and the main places people can find you, and then we're good to go. So fun story. As you said, you were a wrestler. Well, do you want to tell it or do you want me to with Skell? Because he'll be listening.
Well, I'll let you tell it.
I'll tell it. So this is going to make me as well sound bad, but we're all people. Freshman year of college, we weren't roommates, but that's where we met, right? We lived down the hall and we had a close group of friends, you, Nate, and myself, and a few others. And more Saturday nights than not, after we would go out to the bars, we would come up to our floor, like kind of change, calm down, let everyone let the RAs go to bed, whatever. We would go in the break room or the lounge, which is like this big room with couches.
It was like a study room.
We would bolt down the door, like put the whole couch in front of the door, and we would have a all out wrestling fight club. No punching, no hitting to the face, right? We weren't trying to mess each other up, but we would some people would be much more hammered than others, so it got a little bit ridiculous, but circle up 3, 2, 1 and just run at each other and start wrestling. And you being a wrestler and 6'4", right? And over and about 200 pounds more or less of muscle.
Yeah. I don't think we had weight classes.
You were fight club. Yeah, you weren't as heavy then, but you were maybe 190 to 200, right? 6'3", 6'4". Like yeah, 6'4", let's say. You wrestled in high school. And
well, remember that nobody knew that I wrestled in high school either.
Oh, okay. So this is
how you guys found out.
Yeah. So we found out after this moment that you wrestled in high school. You went against our good friend Skelly Boy, Mr. David,
our other roommate, who is almost same height, 6'2", 6'3", 125 pounds at the time.
Linguini. I love him. We call him Skell for a reason. No training, no physical background. And I think you're the nicest guy ever, but reflexively, as soon as there
Yeah.
was some resistance from him, you grabbed the top of his head. And I remember, I have a video, slammed his forehead down into the hard underneath carpet concrete floor. And he was just gone. He was awake, but he was just like star eyes to the sky, blood down his forehead. It was kind of funny. And the reason I'm getting to this is because I saw him a couple nights ago. And dude, that was 7 years ago. Like, it wasn't that big of a deal.
Wow.
I thought, like, and I've seen him a million times, and I don't know if he told you this, but nothing's on his forehead. He's fine. It's been 7 years. Apparently, when he gets he's gonna be so mad at me that I'm saying this. Whenever he gets super tan, the scar comes out.
Yeah.
And he was recently somewhere warm, and I saw him the other night, and he has a big scar, like patch on his forehead from that 7 years later. So,
Well, I guess I'm always on his mind.
oh, literally, man, you're always on his mind. So that's my story. I don't know if you have any, but we can start to.
Well, I will say, just to defend myself, that when you do something daily, it becomes like a reflex, and they call it muscle memory. And so, our good friend Skell, he just didn't know my muscle memory was going to take over.
Your muscles remember.
And they do. Dude, that's why you got to grease the groove.
That was so funny, man. All right, grease. Okay, that's where we'll wrap up. Grease the groove. Don't hurt your friends, but do it a little bit because it's fun. And have a beer if you want or not. All right,
Cheers.
final takeaways from the important stuff today, and then we'll wrap it up.
The important stuff today is to
you already did this, I think,
Mm-hmm.
but like last action steps: rise before the sun if you can, be early, and build some habits.
Yeah, you just got to think about, what are your priorities? Like, what do you want to get out of your days? And then decide one tiny little action that you can take and easily complete, and do it every day. And that's where to start.
Yeah, man. Sounds good. I love it. All right, man. So you said natehatz.com, right? I'll leave it in the description, but anywhere else, or is that your main place right now?
I created that to be my main one-stop shop. You can go to Rise Before, my blog, from that site. And also on natehatz.com, you can read a little bit more about my e-commerce business, my Forex trading. And, if you're interested in learning how to do that yourself, I like to talk about it. So shoot me an email, and we'll talk.
All right. Thank you, man. I'll link everything below. They'll find you. Thank you so much for coming on, man. We'll do it again.
Thanks for having me on, bud.
All right, that's the episode. And quickly before you go, this is Harris once again. Thank you so much for taking a full listen to the episode with Nate Hatz today. We had a great conversation. I hope you enjoyed it. And my true goal is that you got a very actionable piece of advice from that chat. Not just more information, but something that you can implement daily. Just as Nate said, simple, specific habits with numbers are a great way to start. You can do them every day, really build into the fitness and the life that you want. Once again, if you want your questions answered, if you want to deep dive into better strength, better fitness, and a better life, feel free to jump on my email list. The description below will give you all the info you need. I got you there. And if you want to learn more about anything Nate is working on in the e-commerce world, the trading world, he's a great person to talk to. And as you heard, he's quite generous with his energy, and he would love to help you out. So send him an email. You can find everything on natehatz.com. I'll link it in the description below. Have an amazing day, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye-bye.